This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at an extremely affordable Windows 8 tablet. This is the Toshiba Encore 2, and it's the 8-inch model, obviously, and you can get this as cheap as $149, which is pretty crazy. It's an IPS display, the usual Intel Atom Bay Trail processor. Not bad for the money, as long as you temper your expectations, and you'll see what I mean soon. So this is the Toshiba Encore 2. We reviewed the Encore original version, about a year or so ago, and it was kind of chunky and heavy as Windows tablets went, about the same price as all of them. So Toshiba put the thing on a diet, and now it's, I wouldn't call it skinny, but it's slimmed down. It's not as chunky looking, and it's gotten significantly less expensive. In general, these Windows 8 Intel Atom tablets, 8-inch size, have gotten less expensive too. It's sort of a race to the bottom. And I almost wonder if they're putting some of the Android makers on notice here, because these things are less expensive than a lot of Android tablets these days. And for power users who really want the computer-like experience, a desktop running real Windows applications, they do have their appeal. They call this satin gold. I don't know, it's sort of, almost champagne-y colored. Stereo speakers here, they're pretty loud for a small tablet. It's becoming a hallmark of 8-inch Windows tablets. 5-megapixel camera on the rear. It works in portrait and landscape mode, as you might guess. Right there, nice Toshiba logo. Got our little lock slot right there. No controls on this side. And here we have our Windows button, not exactly conveniently placed, but it seems like manufacturers are always trying to figure out a place to put that button, and well, there it is right now. Combo mic headphone jack right there, and our micro USB port that is used for charging. Standard 5-volt 2-amp charger here, and it also supports USB host. If you have a micro USB host adapter, an on-the-go adapter, you can use a hard drive. We'll show you doing that, as a matter of fact. And over here, micro SD card slot, volume controls, power button, and the microphone up top. So it's not going to win any beauty contest, but it's not ugly either. Definitely an improvement over the previous Encore line. The real nice thing, though, is the display, IPS. It's 1280 by 800 resolution, so, for $149, really, street price, $199 list price, how much can you expect in terms of resolution? Also, this is an 8-inch display. That's perfectly fine. A lot of people are still using 1366 by 768 15-inch laptops, so here on a 7-inch, I'm fine with it. It looks sharp, it looks bright. It's quite bright, in fact. I mean, it's not retina searing bright, but it's certainly bright enough for even bright indoor environments and okay for outdoor use. But again, it's around 300 nits or so, which is nice enough, but you get the idea. You're not going to use this at the beach all day. Windows 8.1 here, 32-bit. Technically, this is actually called Windows 8.1 with Bing. Just to confuse people, why did we need another name for a Windows version? It's the same Windows 8.1 that we know and maybe even some of us love right here. It's just a new name for the ultra-budget products, and it comes with Bing set as the default search engine, which is true anyway for Windows. You can still set Google to be your search engine. You can download and install Chrome on here. This is full Windows. This is not the RT version. But it has a gig of RAM. That's what hurts here. Intel Atom Bay Trail processor here. It's the 1.33 gigahertz Atom Z3735G, has burst to 1.83 gigahertz. So that's pretty standard for these guys right here. But that 1 gig of RAM instead of the more common 2 gigs of RAM for these sort of budgety tablets, if you want to call them that. That really hurts. That means no multitasking much for you. Okay, you can have Outlook running in the background and use the web browser at the same time. I would suggest sticking to Internet Explorer. You don't have to use the Metro version. You got the regular full desktop one right here, right now, so that one works just fine. You can use Chrome if you want, but Chrome uses more resources. It tends to use more memory per tab, and that's going to be the issue here, because if we look at the Task Manager, press and hold right here, and we can see Task Manager, you're going to see that about 65% of the RAM is being used or more doing nothing. We don't have any programs running right now. So you're going to hit virtual memory. You're going to slow things down, so stick to one task at a time. You can play HD 720p video on this just fine. You can even do 1080p video on this. Just don't expect to be calculating an Excel Word spreadsheet in the background or doing Photoshop or anything like that. And we have wireless display there, WiDi Miracast. There is, as you notice, no HDMI port on this, so it's got wireless display out. We've got the usual Windows 8.1 on-screen keyboard available here. It's actually not too bad. I like little things like it has a .com button where you happen to be in the URL bar. And typical of Windows, it doesn't always know when to start hiding that button. Oh well. So here we are on our website, Mobile Tech Review, and it loads just fine. And at that resolution, you're probably not going to want to pinch and zoom too much. You can make things a little bit bigger. You don't often need to because it's not particularly crazy high resolution. You can change the DPI scaling if you want, but I wouldn't do that too much because Windows is really designed for a minimum of 1280 by 800 resolution, and you don't want dialogues to start scaling off the side of the screen or something like that. Anyway, it's perfectly fine, and let's check out video playback to see how it does. And we'll go to our Nexus 6 video review. Speaking of a phone that's almost a tablet itself. It's remarkable speakers for a little thing, isn't it? It's good sound. This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and good times. This is the Nexus 6. And it's playing at 720p, which is appropriate to the display resolution, and it's doing a fine job. So it's fine for that. If you're Netflix addicts, little Amazon Prime love, you can do all that on here. And again, full Windows, so you got Adobe Flash Player, all of that sort of thing going on here. You don't have to worry about only installing Windows Store apps. One thing you do have to worry about is the amount of available storage right here. And as you can see, the only thing that we've installed are Windows updates, the Office 365. It comes with a 1-year subscription. And after that, it's up to you to keep subscribing if you want to. But anyway, you can see 16 gigs available. It was 20 gigs out of the box, and after updates, Office, which actually isn't all that big. That's what we're down to there. There's not much space to install programs. So yes, you can put full Windows EXEs on here, Visual Studio, Photoshop, whatever it is you want, but there's only so much space for that, and you really want to leave about 5 gigs free for Windows Update to do its thing. As you know, if it gets too tight there, it just might start failing to update. The other usual caveats apply with an 8-inch tablet that's running Windows. It's really cool that you got Windows here for only $149 in your hand, something this small that would fit in a trench coat pocket or a purse. But UI elements are pretty teeny. Now, I'm pretty well practiced at doing this, so I can hit that teeny Xbox right there, for example, to close this. Even once in a while, when you're practiced at it, you'll screw up, but it's a small UI to work with. When you're in the Metro Live Tile interface right here, obviously really designed to work on tablets and all that sort of thing, it's a lot easier to use. Now, for those of you who say that 32 gigs of storage with realistically about 16 gigs available for your use, that isn't enough. There is a 10-inch model of this. Costs more though. It's around $299 or so, but that does have 64 gigs of storage, which is certainly more workable if you actually do want to install several programs on here. In terms of synthetic performance, on PC Mark 7, it scored 2215. Now, PC Mark 7 likes flash storage, and that's what this has, so that's why it scores. You know, we just reviewed the Lenovo Flex 15 too, and that's a Ultrabook with a Core i5, and it scored 2649. That doesn't mean they really perform similarly. It means that one had a hard drive, and this one has flash internal storage. That's really why. So take that with a grain of salt. W prime, which calculates how long it takes to calculate pi, is a much better indication of CPU performance. So is Geekbench. And it computed pi in 38 seconds, compared to 22 seconds for a Core i5. Geekbench 3, the single core, 681. Wow, we've seen Android phones that score 1,000, so that gives you an idea there for the single core. Multi-core, 2060. And of course, that's a 32-bit test because this is running 32-bit version of Windows. For those of you who are super budget conscious, there's also the Toshiba Encore Mini, which is the 7-inch model. Still has the same amount of storage, the same 1 gig of RAM, same CPU. The display, not as nice as this one, though. So I suggest you go take a look at it in the store before you go and buy it. But that one's $99, even cheaper still. But I can tell you that one thing, that the Windows desktop becomes even more difficult to manage when you're doing things like, well, trying to manage your Windows desktop on a 7-inch screen. So here's the old guy on the block. This is the Dell Venue 8 Pro, and this one has a 1280 by 800 resolution display. It has 2 gigs of RAM, so it's a little bit more sprightly, especially once you start running more than one application at once. But of course, it costs about, depends where you find it. It could be $25 more, it could be $50 more. It's also available with a 64 gig option. It gives you more room to install programs if that's your thing. Otherwise, you know, they're about the same. If you see the backs of them, Dell has a texturized rubbery back versus the faux metal back on here. Largely pretty much the same stuff on all these. The only difference is going to be once in a while you'll find one of these that has a micro HDMI port out for those of you who like the cable out display option. If you're thinking about budget, also consider the Acer Iconia W4, which we don't have here to show you, but it's also a very affordable tablet with about the same stuff to offer as our Toshiba. The tablet has single band Wi-Fi 802.11n. By the way, the Dell has dual band Wi-Fi, which is kind of nice, less interference, better speeds there. And this also has Bluetooth 4.0. There is no 3G, 4G option, but you could use, I suppose, a USB port with a on-the-go adapter cable and a 3G, 4G dongle, or certainly the hotspot on your phone. And for those of you who are saying, what's this USB on-the-go dongle adapter? This is it right here. You can find one in consumer electronics stores these days. Got the micro USB in one end, full-size female USB at this end. It has to be an on-the-go adapter. You can't just use a regular USB cable. Important, different pin out there, folks. Not too expensive. These things are about 10 bucks, 15 bucks, something like that. Anyway, plug it into the hole right there, otherwise known as the USB port. Plug in your external hard drive. We have a 2.5-inch Toshiba. You don't have to use a Toshiba brand hard drive. It just happens to be what we have here. Standard 2.5-inch portable hard drive. You can see Windows immediately opened up an Explorer window and showed me everything that's on the drive. So here's an alternative source for storing your media. Sure, you can use the micro SD card slot, but if you got a hard drive with a library full of music or videos or something like that, you can use that. Absolutely no problem. Also USB printers, USB anything. Again, full Windows right here. So anything that there are Windows drivers for that you would use on your desktop, PC, or laptop, you can do right here as well. Pretty cool. So why buy one of these? Well, obviously it's inexpensive. If you want a cheap tablet and you want the features of full Windows, along with, having to do with Windows updates, believe me, they take a while on this tablet compared to your super fast Core i5 laptop. But if you want to be able to play videos on the go, if you want to do your email, if you want to do the web, if you want, well, the good thing about Windows is you don't have to worry about, well, can I download a video player app that supports Xvid or you name it, any of the popular codecs. It's Windows. You can get codecs for everything on here. It's very compatible. That's a nice part. Is it fine for web, for email, for video playback? And gosh darn, if you're capable of working Office on this 8-inch display and feeling comfortable with that, you can even use real, honest to goodness Office on this. So it has its strong points, and for $150, it's kind of a bargain, as long as you temper your expectations. Like I said, multitasking, not so much, thanks to that 1 gig of RAM. Even 2 gigs of RAM is kind of, it stretches it a bit. So don't expect that. No, I mean, I know there's you crazy folks that played Minecraft on the Dell Venue 8 Pro, which does have 2 gigs of RAM, but still, this really, it's fine for the Metro casual games. This is not really designed to be a gaming machine, that sort of thing. It's not something you'd want to code in Visual Studio on, that sort of thing. You get the idea. So if you use it pretty much like a media consumption tablet that has great compatibility for video formats, audio formats, and USB working with everything that Windows can handle, then, well, it's a good choice. So that's the Toshiba Encore 2, the 8-inch version. It's available now, and again, it's crazy cheap at $149. As long as you only want to do one thing at a time, say your email or the web or play a movie, you're looking good. But don't expect this to be a little multitasking monster. I mean, for $149, how much can it possibly do with 1 gig of RAM especially? I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to hit that like button.